Alright, so before we get started in today's video, I like to ask a question of the day if you're new here to the channel. So today's question of the day is going to be, what is your absolute favorite fishing memory? Doesn't matter what it is, just anything, your absolute favorite fishing memory. Drop that down in the comments. I'll be sure to let you guys know what my favorite fishing memory is as well. It's actually kind of funny. You guys are definitely going to laugh when you see it. But that being said, let's get started. What is up, guys? What's going on? Welcome back to another exciting episode of YakPak Outdoors. So a couple things I'm gonna mention before we start this video is thank you guys. Number one, as always, thank you for all the support, and also thank you for understanding that it's very hard for me to get out to fish right now. I'm in the middle of a move. I mean, I have nothing in my backyard. My garage is packed up. Got to finish packing the upstairs tonight, but don't sweat. A lot of fishing videos are to come. This coming Wednesday, I'll be in Pensacola, Florida on vacation for a couple weeks. So I have a ton of fishing videos planned, some collaborations with some fellow YouTubers, some fellow Instagrammers, if you will. But today's video is going to be brought to you by a question that I was asked in an Instagram live stream earlier by Untamed Bassin. I'll link his Instagram down below. He says, could you do a video on how you approach a pond or a lake, basically how you prepare? So that's what I'm going to be covering in today's video, so stay tuned. You guys definitely don't want to miss it. Go ahead and smack that subscribe button if you are not already. Well, we may have to hurry this video up because it looks like it's fixing to rain. Alright, I don't know why I just packed pouches, but... Alright, I created a little, oh my goodness, little list right here. I'm going to talk through this, basically, because I don't want to miss anything. I want to give you guys the best information that I can give you. So, all of this is what I do. You don't have to do any of this, or you don't have to have any of the gear that I take or anything like that. You basically, if you're on a budget, stay on a budget. Don't try to keep up with the Joneses, as I like to say. You don't have to have all this stuff, whatever, to be successful. I just want to share with you guys what I do, and hopefully you guys can take something away from it. So what I'm going to take to the pond with me, I'm going to take 2 to 3 rods, something for soft plastics, jigs, and stuff like that. Then I'm going to take one for crankbaits, chatterbaits, and spinnerbaits, something, you know, for moving baits, basically. We'll call it that. And then I'm also going to take one with straight braid on it for topwater. A lot of people ask me, do I fish all my topwater, everything topwater you can think of? Do I fish it with braid? Yes, absolutely. It's just something that I've always done, something that I like to do. Alright, what I'm going to take with me as far as the rods, anything, literally anything, from a 7-foot medium heavy to a 7'6" heavy. Any kind of reel, any kind of gear ratio, doesn't necessarily matter. Alright, so moving on to what I'm looking for when I get to the pond, when I pull up on the pond or walk up to it or whatever. So 3 things that I'm going to be looking for: vegetation, wood, or overhang trees. So with those 3 things right there, you're probably going to find fish looking around those three key assets to the pond. So where do I start? How do I start? I'll always start with a moving bait, and we're going to talk about this a little bit later in the video, times of the day, but I always start with the moving baits to see how active and how aggressive the fish are. So I'm also going to start where the water is in the shade the longest part of the day. So the sun rises in the east and sets in the west. So if you can kind of judge off of that, where's going to have shade the longest of the pond? That's where the water is going to be cooler throughout the day. Now you may think a pond, like the water temperature is going to be the same all the way around. Not necessarily true. If there's a part of the pond that has a really shady area that stays shaded like that throughout the day, that water is going to be cooler than something that sits in the sun all day, or something that the sun hits first and starts heating that water up first. Alright, so how I progress throughout the day. We're going to say that I'm fishing from sun up to sundown, just to kind of give you guys an idea and to cover that. We'll call it 6 in the morning till 8 in the evening. So an entire day, this is how I progress through it. So pull up, first thing I'm going to start with is topwater. I'm going to look for anything that I see like busting or waking on the topwater. Usually you'll be able to see that if you get to the water or get to the pond really early in the morning. You'll be able to see those fish popping or busting, as I like to say, early. So I'm going to start with a topwater. I'm going to fish a frog, a buzzbait, a popper, whopper, plopper, something like that. Usually 3 of them, just to see if they want one of the 3. I'll fish those about 15 to 20 minutes a piece. If they're not wanting anything like that, or let's say they don't want anything like that, I'll fish it for hour and a half or so, hour and a half. I'm gonna switch to anything subsurface, a chatterbait, a lipless crankbait, spinnerbait, anything like that. That's usually I'll start with. I really like to start with chatterbaits and then work my way to spinnerbaits. Just crankbaits, whatever. But I always prefer to start with a chatterbait. Something just I always have better luck starting with chatterbaits. So if that's not working, or if it does work and we're getting through on the day, like lunchtime ish, where it's the hottest part of the day, I'm gonna switch to soft plastics, Senkos, trick worms, weightless flukes are always really good, especially the solid white weightless flukes, or a bug / creature style bait. So let's say we're progressing on, we're past lunchtime now. I'm basically gonna do what I just said, but in reverse order. So I'm gonna go back to those moving baits when it starts to cool down a little bit. So I'll fish, let's see, the fish are gonna be more active. When that water gets really hot in the middle of the day, especially here in the summertime, the water's gonna get really hot, except for in those shaded areas like I covered previously in the video. But when that water gets really hot, the fish are gonna slow down. That's when you fish those soft plastics. But when the water starts to cool down throughout the day, like later on in the day, that's when I'm gonna go back to those moving baits, because those fish, when that water starts to cool down, they're gonna start to be more active. They're gonna try to feed a little bit more. Basically, think of it like this: when you're hot or when you're sweaty and you want to find some shade or some cover to sit under, so do the fish. Just think of it like that. If you're hot and sweating, the fish are hot and probably not sweating, but I mean, they're in the water. But try to find that shaded water or that cooler water. So all right, as the day goes along, I'll work through that pattern, like I said, in reverse. So let's say that we're already done with that and it's the end of the day. So I'm gonna go ahead and go back to fishing that top water. And that right there is basically, that's how I approach and fish a pond. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments below. Any specifics type questions, like what kind of rod, what brand, whatever, any kind of questions you got, drop them in the comments below. Thank you guys for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. Also, again, thank you for understanding that it's really hard for me to get out and fish right now, but just understand and know, like I said, that the fishing videos are gonna come. Go ahead and smack that subscribe button if you haven't already. Let YakPak Outdoors earn your subscription. Thanks again for watching, guys. We'll catch y'all next time.